At 10 years old, I got shot. My name is Jerome Harvey Jr. Born in Gainesville, Florida. Raised in Ocala, Florida. I have 3 sisters on my mother's side. I got 3 sisters and 2 brothers on my dad's side. My mother's name is Faye Francis Mike. Father's name is Jerome Harvey Sr. They've been separated since I was 1. A stepfather and a stepmother. I was happy up until kindergarten. I had the community. And then after kindergarten, I went to the hood. We didn't know it at the time, but it was the hood. On a normal day in my neighborhood was, if we stayed in the yard, it was pretty much protection. I mean, we had the basic thing, same things everybody had. Typical day would be a lot of at the time, I didn't know it, but there was a lot of drug dealers hanging out. We moved from Pavilion Oaks to 8th Avenue, which was a little more country settled. And then we moved to the west side, different parts of Ocala,
Florida.
Yes. And then we moved to the west side. Same town, just simply, I'm gonna say totally different environments. It's like going from the rainforest to the savannah. In the beginning, I remember having white friends. And then we moved on 8th Avenue where it was a lot of black people. Wasn't too bad of a neighborhood, but it was right around the point where crack had just hit. There was poor.
Okay.
Pavilion Oaks is what they call Section 8 apartments. And then we moved my granddaddy. And then moved my granddaddy again. Now, at the age from kindergarten to about 3rd grade, we did live the closest we came to living like the Cosby life. But at that time, it was like four of us from my mama and 3 from my stepdaddy, which at the time, I didn't realize that, that's the closest I came to having like what y'all call a family.
Okay. You mentioned your granddaddy. What's your memory of your grandfather growing up?
Them was the best of times. I mean, I didn't realize that with him it was more like a lot of protection.
You felt safe.
Yeah, he played the role of my daddy. When I look back, life, just what granddaddy did, I guess, but a lot of stuff that I learned from him was, stuff he do on the weekend, because that's the only time he was there. He worked during the week out of town and come on the weekends. And I guess in most people's eyes, they would say it was not good, but I did learn how to shoot dice. And scratch lottery tickets. But he did the best he could with it, how. Like most people describe their relationship with their father or their mother. It was my world. He got injured and he died from complications of his injury. Just that loss. So after he left, I turned to the streets. I love my mama to death, but single parent mama, they have no knowledge of raising men. She did the best she could, and I thank her for it, because a lot of women would have gave up. But she worked, and that was a big problem, because she worked. She worked hard. I mean, when you're working, you can't nurture your children. So she was doing what she did, and I was following I was following the influence that I was surrounded. At that point, we had to move to the slums of Ocala. I made Dennis the Menace look like an angel. I mean, I got kicked out. Well, they didn't actually kick me out, but my first time being suspended was in second grade. I can tell you, I could go all the way back to before I even hit school with my godmama. I used to get dropped off my godmama to.
What's her name?
Louise means, but we call her Mama Louise. I mean, that was structure, discipline. And it was good times. Good times. My earliest memory is when I used to be like, I don't know, had to be about 3 or 4. And I used to, cause they used to have, like, back in them days, ain't nothing like y'all got today. You want to wash clothes, or you going out there scrubbing. You want to eat, you got a garden. I think I could remember her going to the grocery store, and she would bring back like a sack of flour, a sack of sugar, and maybe some milk. That was it. She had chickens. Some guys used to bring her like pork and beef. I mean, random guys. Not guys, but people that she knew. She used to process her own meat. She had her own meat grinder. I mean, she processed her own hot dogs, her own sausages. A lot of people don't know about it, the hog head cheese, where she would just take the head of the hog and boil it and take all the meat off of it and grind it up. And we make them fat, some skins, them homemade skins. Yeah, so I didn't know about tater chips. I knew about, I mean, she basically, other than flour and sugar and milk,
what they call now pork rinds and pork skins.
Yeah, she made all that. I remember her sunflower. She'd have a sunflower garden in the front. And her mother, Mom, used to always be out there. On my mama's side. My daddy's side, occasionally I run into him in the streets, but that was way, I mean, I had to be, well, I'll take that back. I did when I was younger. I used to go over there on the weekends. But it's like I could count on one hand. And I used to, but my grandma had 21 kids, so.
That's on your dad's side.
On my dad's side. Right now today, I don't even know half of them.
Okay.
Let alone the cousins that come along with them.
How about your mom's?
My mom was they moved from Georgia, so I didn't know her mother's side. Matter of fact, I didn't know my granddad's side either. They moved from Georgia, from Ocala, Georgia, to Ocala, Florida. So all I had was just, she had 3 brothers. One got killed when I was in elementary. And the other 2, I mean, we had a good relationship. We still do have a good relationship, Because of my job is strained, I mean, I try to get by it and see as much as I can, but basically, I really don't see them like I want them.
How did they shape your life and incorporate as an uncle figure, father figure in your life?
Well,
growing up,
my mother's oldest one, and there's my mother, then there's the one up under her, and then there's the baby one. The one up under her was a big influence in my life. I mean, he taught me a lot of stuff that my daddy should have taught me. And then I got an uncle on the outside that was like my best friend. I mean, he wasn't like my uncle. I mean, we didn't call him uncle, we call him Derek. He was like my best friend. He was that person that always like really got down on our level. And that was just it. We was kids. I mean, I remember the first time we got drunk, you know what I mean? And he would let us hold his car. He'd be passed out of the back seat, and we got the fishtailing and spinning out. I mean, he did stuff that kids be like, I mean, But my mama always working. She never knew half the stuff. But he did stuff my mama would flip out for if she heard the story. Yeah, that was when I was in the slump part of life. That day started like a normal Saturday. My granddad used to make sure if it wasn't every Saturday, it was every other Saturday. You didn't care if your hair was an inch, 5 inches. Well, it wasn't getting 5 inches. You getting a haircut. So we started off to go get a haircut. And once again, my Uncle Derek, really wasn't a gang member, but he just liked to, fit in, so I could call it so. But he had got hold of some guns, some nice guns too. And we were supposed to be ready to go to get a haircut, and he was trying to sneak the gun out the house for my granddaddy. Seen him. And I don't know why he took the guns out of the car. Why would you, and bring him to my granddad's house. Anyway, he was sneaking it out, and he told me to go ahead to run downstairs to unlock the trunk. And as he was coming downstairs, because it was a 2-story apartment we stayed in, as he's coming downstairs, we heard the gun go off. And I just instantly felt numb. It's an out-of-body experience. Like, you ain't really there, but you're there. I was downstairs unlocking his trunk of his car. And he was upstairs, trying to rush out there for my granddad actually came out the bathroom to, put the gun in the car. And as he was coming down the stairs, he had the trigger guard sawed off. So the towel wrapped in the trigger. And when he was bouncing down the stairs, it discharged. And I caught both of them in both legs and then one finger. Thank God, because I was young. I was, just made 5th grade. No, the dog was the reason why I didn't catch the bullet in the chest, because I had this old mutt that was abused I got from my cousin. And he, really didn't come to nobody. It's like, I just have to just beg this dog to come to me. But I was bent down unlocking the trunk, and this dog came right between my legs and kind of put his head between my legs and pushed me up. As soon as he did that, I don't see how the dog didn't even get hit. But when he pushed me up, because I was bent down, he had a hatchback car, a little small hatchback car. So I was bent down trying to get the key in there, and as soon as the dog pushed me up, I just yelled out, man, you heard that? I can hear him yell out, you heard that? That was loud. And I looked down, and I had on brown, like khaki pants, and I just seen like the top part was still brown, but the bottom part was just red. I said, Derek, I think I'm hit.
How old were you about this time?
I don't know, about 5th grade. I don't know.
So you're about 10?
Yeah, it could be in that ballpark. He goes, oh, stop playing. And by that time, he had made it downstairs, and I just tried to step. And when I stepped, I was falling. He caught me. And he just looked down and was like, oh. And it was like, honestly, I believe I blacked out until, well, I didn't completely black out. I was just like in a zone, like out of body experience. And then he was telling my granddad, I heard him yelling at my granddaddy. And my older sister came out the door. And my granddaddy was like, he was trying to call the police. And my uncle was like, no, we got to get him to the hospital. He's bleeding. So they bickered for, I don't know. I was just really out of it. And then he put me in the back of the car and yelling at my granddaddy, we got to go, Daddy, we got to go. So we got in the car, and the only other memory I have in that is, and we laugh about this today, I don't use them words, so I can't literally say it. I don't like to say them because, my Christianity. But we turned the corner, and my granddad said, GD, you gonna kill her before you get there. We laugh about that, but I mean, my recovery was a normal ghetto recovery. They put me in the hospital long enough to make sure I was not in, I guess, critical condition they call. I stayed in about 2 weeks, but the insurance my mama had on me told them that they had to discharge me, and I didn't even know how to walk. I really wasn't walking. I left not being able to walk, and I left with a doctor saying I wasn't going to walk no more. I remember going to therapy one time because my leg had been locked up in a position where it was literally twisted, and my feet was, it was twisted like where my feet was turned backwards, and I could just put my hand like an armrest on it, and it locked in that position, and I couldn't bend it back out, and it felt good in that position, but they knew they had to straighten it back out. And the therapy was, they took me to this room because, and despite, I love my daddy today for me, despite not having him in my life that week, he was there that whole entire week. And he was trying to straighten it out in the room, but he got mad. So he took me to another room, literally just took my leg, crunked it out, and then put a brace on it. And that thing hurt it. And sent me home that next day. And I sat on the sofa chair for about a week. Literally just laying on the sofa chair. One day I just, it's like they was having crabs downstairs. My mom said, they was going downstairs to set up. It was on the Saturday too. And she was going to set me a chair back there. And my Uncle Derek, who had done, they took him to jail, but they released him. So I think he did 2 weeks in there for that. But he did a lot of probation. And he was there, and he said, I'm finna take you downstairs. And when he got me downstairs, I said, put me down, I wanna walk. He said, you wanna try to walk? So just like you do a toddler, he literally was standing in front of me with his hands out. And I just...
Tell us about a incident when you were younger and you took a gun to school. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was the first time
About
I've been
how old were you?
suspended. I was in the 2nd grade. And we was living on 9th Ave, sorry. And we stayed right behind the store, and somebody broke in the store, and I remember this clear as day. And our window faced the back of the store. So we heard the alarm go off, and I could hear the guy on the roof, but I can't see him. But I could see the police officer down there, literally shaking, scared. And the guy jumped off the back of the roof over our gate fence. And I guess he dropped the gun and took off, across my stepdaddy's mother's property. And the next day we went out there and I found the gun. So I took it to my granddaddy. About a week later, that same gun I took to school. Thank God I got caught because I was going to use that gun after school on these bullies that, these 5th graders that used to bully us. And I got caught with it. And that lady, to this day, I still want to apologize to Miss Gilliam. That lady, I know she literally froze when she seen that gun. I got 2 weeks suspension and I had to do a juvenile program. I wanted to be a cop. Funny thing, right? But then as I growed up, I see it was not for me. It was a black cop stayed by the school. You know, they have cops stay on school properties back then. And he got to be a real cool guy and used to encourage us. And I ended up absorbing my environment. After we moved from over off 8th Avenue, we moved on to what we call, it's known 2nd Street, but around Ocala it's known as, it's called 2nd Street, but around Ocala it's known as Hickey Street. So if you wanted a hickey, you went on that street to get it. Hickey is crack, cocaine. Wound up dealing it. When I was younger, we used to get paid by drug dealers to holler a code that they had back then. You know, all your old heads know it. Y'all new school kids, y'all probably won't know it, but we used to just, you know, as we was playing, if we seen a police, we would holler throwdown. And if we did it, they reward us. So we would literally be on throwdown patrol. Well, we would just sit there and just wait till we see the police because we know we was gonna get paid. And I tried cutting yards, but that didn't go too far. So the guy I met later on when I went to middle school. Now, his family was always into that life. And before him, there was this big time drug dealer. I mean, he was the guy that was one of the main plugs for bringing it from Miami to here. He used to try to coach us not to do it. And he was always, you know, giving us money and, you know, trying to, matter of fact, he bought us weight sets. So when they left, I mean, my other best friend, he came into my life. And I got in the middle school where, well, I did know a little bit about it in elementary because this girl I used to like, she was the first person to pick at me about my clothes. I didn't realize that we was poor until she said that. She said, you always wear the same thing every other day. She said, them shorts right there, your stepbrother had on Monday, now you're wearing on Wednesday. I mean, it really made me feel like, oh, realize we is poor. Because prior to that, I had no concept about being poor. And, you know, we was living good. We ate, we played. We didn't have, you know, much of things, but what we did, it didn't. But when she brought that out, and we went from 5th grade to middle school, it made me one think, you know, my mama didn't have much. And by that time, well, my stepdad had broke up because it wasn't like a financial stability between them two. Because his mama kicked him out the house that she owned because, and then my mama moved my granddad and he moved with my granddad. So it's like 11 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. 11 people.
That's a lot of people.
So, I mean, it's not like we had plenty to go around. My mama did the best she could. I mean, I got to give her props. She did the best she could. We might not have the best Christmas, but she made it where we would have a good Christmas. When they split up, it was like, I didn't have the stepbrothers to play with no more. My best friend, so I met this new best friend. His parents then was drug dealers. Matter of fact, his cousin was a major drug dealer. That's the guy that first introduced me to moving weight. But prior to then, we was just mainly absorbing the environment. We started off just perping people. We weren't even drug dealers. We were perper, what we call fakers, because we sold fake dope. You know what I mean? Somebody in school showed somebody in school who showed us that all you need is a bag of candles, some flour, and orange gel. And you can get out there. And I didn't realize how dangerous that was until, wasn't a friend of mine, but he was like somebody from the block was doing it. And we would do it like sparingly. We would run out there, we see like if we see a crackhead that couldn't find nobody to get nothing from, and they was all white, you know what I mean? Because the first black guy we tried to perp, he was like, this is not real. You know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, nah. So we knew to get white people. And we'd be like, we learned how to up the game to make it look real, taste real. And we would just catch a person here. It wasn't nothing major, $20 here. A major score would be a $50 lick, and we was like, good, because we go high, because when we first started doing it, we seen somebody who perped somebody and they came back and killed them. So we knew, okay, we do this, we gotta, I mean, we literally used to go around different sections of Ocala and just not constantly hang out, but we'd run out there and grab them. Man, listen, alcohol was introduced to me with my uncle. I mean, I was the only fifth grader that could down a quart and still stand. So in the beginning, I sold crack, and I was taught at an early age about how strong it was. I used to be scared to even put it in my hand too long, because it's like, yeah, you get it in your system on your hand, you get it. So now we got introduced to selling the real thing about middle 6th grade, 7th grade. Wasn't no like where we can retire from. My first time getting high was with one of my sister's classmate. And he was the first person that gave me marijuana. That was an experiment right there. But me and my cousin, well, first, he did, no, that's right. Me and my cousin. And that was,
What made you want to try it?
Because it was all around us. Back in the days, I remember my mom was smoking weed. That's all that was around us. You ain't gonna hang out to a bar and everybody drinking and not one day become a drunk. I mean, it's just what you were raised up in. I didn't stop selling drugs until I was 21, 22. What made me slow down was my firstborn. What made me stop was my secondborn. I met their mom when I was 19. Wanted to work, but couldn't work. I had to move back with my mama. I didn't have like bills per se. I wanted to drive trucks, and I literally started off from the bottom. From 19, and I was 22, 24, somewhere in there when I had it. Well, I guess you got to do the math on that.
Okay.
I smoked a lot of marijuana, so my brain cells is burnt. That should be a note to kids that want to smoke it.
Drugs. What made you stop completely?
My kids. I had a lot of friends that was getting serious time, who was doing what I was doing. I mean, it was really sweeping them off the street. And I got my firstborn, I got caught in one, a drug sting. And I was facing a lot of time with him. She was actually going through the pregnancy. I was warned when she was pregnant. And at the time she was having a baby, we had this disagreement, and I kind of left and went to go catch a zap. And just luckily, I was firing up a blunt because the car came around me, and he speeded through this zone. They had a speed trap, and I didn't know it. That's me trying to light the blunt. I lit it, and I kind of went to pick back up, and I seen the police just step out in the middle of the road and tell him to pull over. So I had a gun, a lot of crack cocaine, a bit of marijuana, and I just fired up a blunt. So it'd have been like, and I was wanted for a failure to appear on drug charges that I was facing. No, I experienced being incarcerated, but it was like more like we did what they call probation, you would say. They would send me to programs I had to do. So, thank God that I was always covered by him with that. I never because he knew my future, and it's like he shielded me because my cousin hadn't went to jail, and this guy here used to be scared to even visit somebody. And I think I have juvenile. I had 4 charges. One when I was in 2nd grade, another one when I was in, the other 3 in middle school. So, as a child, we was sent to church for Sunday school, and then we would walk home because we would leave after Sunday school. When I got right at the age of 10, it was a small church that built a little homemade church, like they took this house and made it into a church. And I used to go there regularly. I loved that pastor, but I didn't know at the time that there's people that religious and there's people that are sanctified. And a religious person is somebody who will go to church and then the rest of the week.
Like religiously, like a...
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was in what they call a religious church. We meet on Sunday. And after that, I was back. Because the guy stayed in Wildwood, so he didn't look like he was around me all the time.
Taught anything about the scriptures? No.
Except for the 10 Commandments. And I only knew the only one that my mama would quote: honor our mother and our father, and our days be longer. But other than that,
that's a good one. As for a child, for a parent to a child, that's good. Where are you now, and how did you get to?
yes, I put a ring on it. I got more serious about it when my 2nd child came. Don't get me wrong, I love my first child because that started to change. And when you're dealing with that type of that much of drugs and that much of money, it's not easy just to quit. I mean, you can't just, it's like being on drugs. You can't, overnight. Unless you go to prison, that's the only way you're gonna just quit overnight. Other than that, it was years. Even when my baby boy was born, I still somehow managed to hook up with this guy that I used to serve cocaine to, whose daddy was in the cartel. And somehow I found my way of just getting a couple pounds from him, and but it was a struggle, man. It was a struggle at first. It was like, I'm finna get up and go to work for this little bit of money, and I could just, but I knew seeing all my friends getting, even the years the 24 years I was facing, that was a major, because it was, once again, I turned to God like we all do when we get in trouble.
Like a genie.
Yeah, and my father-in-law is a pastor, and prior to then, might have visited his church 1 or 2 times, but that I knew, and he prayed for me. And it was a miracle from God that when they seized the drugs, the warrant that they attained wasn't a warrant for the drugs. It was a warrant for a person. And by them not having a warrant for the drugs, they illegally obtained the drugs. So it was a legally searching procedure. And the lawyer told me, he said, that you got 2 choices now. You can A, pick a better profession, or B, move out this town, because the next time they come at you, they're gonna have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed. And I did for a couple years. He used to always get harassed by this cop. He was trying to get me. He was trying to get me so hard he lost his career over. But I went to driving trucks. And I started from a little box truck to now I drive semi-trucks. And I knew by me growing up the way I grew up that your environment is what molds you. There's some people that's got stronger heads and be like, you know what, I'm gonna climb out of this without letting it suck me in. But for the majority of people with a mom that work all the time, an older sister that watch you, but mainly she's on the phone. Who you hang around is what you're gonna be. Now it's going on 21 years.
So you've been driving trucks for 21 years.
I had a wreck, and you would think that would teach you, but no, it was a near-death experience because I'd have been a little to the left or a little to the right. I'd hit 2 poles, but that still didn't teach me a lesson. So I climbed up and I got my Class A, and once again, I had another wreck. Really wasn't an eye-opener until after a
What
week.
were you driving when you got in that accident?
I was driving a semi-truck, and I think I hit some black ice, trying to avoid some knucklehead want to make a turn and cut you off. And when I hit that black ice, I hit the brakes, and I think it just locked up. It was a single axle. So a week or so later, after they did a report, and we got another ticket and all this. I back in the truck, and I was headed back from a town from over where I stay at, actually the town I was born in. And I seen a dump truck driver get in the same kind of accident, same similar accident as mine, but he died. And I thank God for the elders of the church, because my mother-in-law, who I claim to be my spiritual mother, and my auntie-in-law, praying women, and their prayers was working. It made me realize that God got something for me and to keep me here for a reason, because I done had 3 times I could have been killed. No, I take that back.
Can't count.
I can't count, yeah. We was at Martin Luther King Festival, and I heard how the sound of a bullet sound when it whizzes past your ear. It make a zing and zip sound. And I'd have been robbed. It's just like so many times I can't count.
Did you ever have someone killed next to you? Did you?
3 times.
How was that experience?
The first one was the nightmare. The other 2, because the first one, we was all running. And I heard the bullet shoot past me, but the guy next to me actually caught one. And it literally just ripped him open, man. Literally. Life now is a Cosby life. I have to work to provide, and preferably I could find something local where I don't have to be leaving my house like I do. And God is blessing financially, spiritually. Me and God met is through the near-death experience.
Who is God to you?
God is my Father, my Heavenly Father. He's everything.
And how has God made your life better?
By just being able to live. Like I said, I stopped counting on the one hand how many times I could have been killed, and I got friends right now that's doing long stints of time.
Okay, what are you looking forward for?
The heavenly well done. That's what I'm looking forward for. The heavenly well done. Seeing my kids being able to not go through what I went through and not have to experience the life that all of us get over. I'm gonna put a race on it, but poor people live. My mother and I are close. I really don't see my daddy still. My uncle, my sisters, we are real good. My wife is a wife. What can I say? She provide, I provide. She take care of the family, and she take care of me. Definitely the most important part, she take care of her kids.
How are your children?
It's still in my pocket, so I ain't in theirs.
Okay.
It's working out. God is a blessing. They're healthy. They're following my footsteps for what reason, I don't know, with this driving truck things. But hey, if God bless me, I pray He bless them the same way.
Okay, what would you tell your younger self now, that little 8-year-old little boy?
I would tell him to try to pay attention to school. I wish I could have, like I did my boy, shield him in the house, but
What would you want to tell him?
I would want to tell him try.
Just keep trying. Don't give up.
Don't give up, because I lost interest in school and picked the interest up in what was around me, and I wish I would have just stayed in school.
What would you tell an 8-year-old boy now that's going through what you're going through?
I would tell him to focus at school versus what he's seeing in reality, because even though you don't see it, it's just like having faith with God. You don't see it, but if you hold on to it, it'll manifest itself. Because what I see, everything I seen went down. Everything I seen, the guys that I seen with the big gold chains and the good-looking cars and the music in them, every last one of them went down. Even the people that was in my area, they went down. And despite the little bit of money you see now, it's not going to be worth what you'll make if you stay focused at school. And I didn't have that.
What kind of encouragement you would want to give to someone in your place right now as a man of God, now as a father?
I would tell them to focus at God first, because without Him, none of this would have been possible. But that the whole time there was an angel protecting me, and He knew I had something to do for Him. So I would always tell them, don't harden your heart, because if your heart get too hard, God, He can't use you. So keep your heart always and love people. Because it was a time where I would let people or encourage me to do things I didn't want to do. And one of those things was hating people. Finding ways a reason just to shoot somebody. And that right there is not a part of God's kingdom. Because you never know what that person will be tomorrow.
Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. Now we're off record.
I love you.
I love you too.